Last week, about this time, we talked about Dak Prescott and the situation that's going on right now with the Dallas Cowboys. The situation that's been going on the last year or two with the Dallas Cowboys. And I made the case that Dak Prescott should want out of Dallas ASAP and gave you a couple of reasons why I felt that way. Now, we're going to get into more detail on that today. And I'm going to explain what I think the 2021 season should look like for the Dallas Cowboys. But first, let me address something in the comment section of that video last week. Because I don't think that some of you guys understand how the franchise tag works in the NFL. In that video, I was discussing options for the Cowboys with Dak. And one option was that the Cowboys could tag him again and then they could trade him. Someone commented on that video that Dak Prescott doesn't have to sign the franchise tag, which is true. NFL players are not forced to sign any contracts. But if Dak refused the franchise tag, he would not just become a free agent. It's not like, oh, I'm going to refuse to sign the franchise tag and I can go do whatever the hell I want and sign with whoever the hell I want. That's not how it works. The Cowboys would still hold the rights to him. He would essentially have to sit out the season or sign the franchise tag. That would be his options at that point. All right, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this. Jerry Jones has been trying to win another Super Bowl in Dallas since the mid-90s. But the past few years, as he's getting on up there in age, the push for another championship has become stronger. Most people, myself included, credit Jimmy Johnson for the Cowboys Dynasty or the Cowboys' success in the 90s. When you think about America's team, the Cowboys of the 1990s, you think Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, and Jimmy Johnson. You never hear the name Barry Switzer, who won a Super Bowl with Jimmy Johnson's team. That dynasty in the 90s was broken up by Jerry Jones himself. His ego got in the way. Instead of being like the majority of NFL owners, instead of being like, say, Robert Kraft in New England, who knows that Bill Belichick knows more about football than he does, so he allows Bill Belichick to make the decisions, Jerry Jones wanted his hands in the mix, which was a real problem for Jimmy Johnson. He wanted Jerry Jones to get the hell out of the way and let him run his team. But Jerry Jones just couldn't do it. So Jimmy Johnson, he leaves Dallas. Now Jerry Jones has free reign. He's the owner/general manager. And the Cowboys have been somewhat of a disaster ever since. They haven't had a consistent winning quarterback since Troy Aikman. Now, I like Tony Romo. He is great in the broadcast booth at CBS, but he was not a great quarterback in the NFL. Jerry Jones held on to Tony Romo for far too long. When they drafted Dak Prescott back in 2016, there was no illusions that he was going to be their starter in Dallas, at least anytime soon. Now, Romo, he goes down in the preseason, lost for the year. Dak steps in, and he surprises the NFL, Jerry Jones included. But there has been a problem the last 4 years in Dallas, more specifically, the last 2 years. Dak Prescott wants to be paid. And Jerry Jones doesn't want to pay him because Jerry Jones doesn't believe in Dak Prescott. So the Dallas Cowboys have been in kind of this holding pattern, like a hold position. And all it is doing is prolonging the inevitable. The Cowboys need to be in rebuild mode now, but they cannot do that with Dak looming overhead. Now, some of you may disagree with the Cowboys needing to go into a rebuild. I mean, this team has weapons offensively. They are locked in long term. They need to win now. They need to be in win now mode. That's true. They do have players offensively locked in long term. But those same players, Zeke, Amari Cooper, they aren't translating to wins on the field. And that doesn't address the other problem. The Cowboys have a lot of holes on this team and limited cap space to fill them. This is the primary reason I said last week that Dak should be looking to get out of Dallas. The guys over at SB Nation, they did some great work analyzing the current roster in Dallas. Check out the holes that they found on this roster, what the Cowboys need to address immediately. Free safety, cornerback and slot corner, defensive tackle, depth at linebacker is an issue, offensive tackle, and addressing the lack of depth on the interior offensive line. Now that is 6-7 positions for the Cowboys that are problematic going into the offseason. And they're not going to be able to address all of them in one offseason. If they decide to franchise tag Dak Prescott again, they're not going to be able to address any of those needs this offseason. The $38 million they would pay Dak on the tag would eat up all of their available salary cap space. Now, did you notice where most of the holes on the Cowboys roster is? The defense. That's because Jerry Jones has went all in the past couple of years on the offensive side of the ball, trying to build a Super Bowl caliber offense around Dak Prescott. Like I said a second ago, that's not translating into wins. Dallas has missed the playoffs 2 years in a row. And don't give me the excuse that Dak got injured early last season. That doesn't matter. The Cowboys weren't making the playoffs if Dak had played all 16 games. So if you're Dak Prescott, with all the problems, with all the holes on this team, why the hell would you want to return? You're going to face the same problems in 2021 that you did in 2020. The Cowboys will be putting up 30 points a game offensively. Dak will be throwing for 500 plus yards, and they'll lose. And just like I said in the video last week, Dak will carry the blame for those losses. Look, both sides have tried to make this work. Dak has given everything he has the last 4 years to the Cowboys. Jerry Jones has tried and failed to build a consistently winning team around him. At some point, you reach a point where the realization hits you, and it's just time to start over. It's not working. Everyone thought, myself included, that Jason Garrett was the majority of the problem in Dallas the last few years. He was part of the problem. But how do you explain last season, 2020, with Mike McCarthy? New head coach, new offense, same problems. The Cowboys couldn't win. Now, this is just speculation on my part, but I think Jerry Jones knows that it's time to rebuild in Dallas. I've been saying for 2 years that I don't feel like Jerry has any faith in Dak as his franchise quarterback. But when I saw what I'm about to tell you yesterday, it confirmed my belief that we're on the verge of divorce between Dak and the Cowboys. If Jerry Jones was serious about keeping Dak Prescott in Dallas, you would think that he would open up contract negotiations this offseason with a better deal than he offered him last summer. Or at minimum, he would acquiesce to Dak's request for a shorter contract. Instead, reports are coming out that Jerry Jones is going to offer Dak Prescott the exact same contract that he offered last summer. The 5-year contract, I think it's $175 million, something like that. The same contract that Dak refused to sign. Now, does this sound like Jerry Jones is eager to have Dak back in Dallas next season? The longer this drags out, the more expensive it is going to be to keep Dak in Dallas. If Jerry really wanted Dak, this deal would have been done last summer. If they tag him again this offseason, it is going to be exponentially more expensive to retain him the following year. At that time, the NFL's new TV deals will be negotiated. The salary cap is going to get a huge bump. Quarterbacks up for extensions will set records with the money that they receive. And Dak is going to expect to receive the same type of money. It is over in Dallas. It is over. It's best for the Cowboys to just rip the Band-Aid off, let this scab heal, and start over to rebuild. Dallas has 10 picks in the draft this year, including the number 10 pick in the first round. There's a team drafting high in the first round that's not in need of a quarterback. The Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins had the number 3 pick in the draft. Now, they can thank Bill O'Brien for being able to draft that high. The Dolphins are involved right now in the Deshaun Watson rumors, but if that doesn't work out, they're either going to go with Tua or they're going to go after another veteran quarterback in free agency. With the defense that they have right now in Miami, this team is in win-now mode. They're not looking to draft another young quarterback that high in the draft and develop him. The Cowboys could work out a trade with the Dolphins, move up to the number 3 spot, draft their quarterback of the future. And if it doesn't work out with Miami, if they can't get a deal done, work a deal with the Bengals, who are drafting at number 5. They already have their quarterback in Joe Burrow. This would allow the Cowboys to get a quarterback for cheap the next 3 or 4 years and use the rest of their cap money to fix the many holes that they have on this roster. Actually build a team and a defense that can win consistently. Because it doesn't matter at this point if Dak is healthy or not. The Cowboys are not winning many games with the defense that they have right now. But this would also give Dak the opportunity to start fresh somewhere else, somewhere he is respected. And this is something that I think is looking more and more appealing to Dak Prescott. I believe there is a lot of bad blood between Dak and Jerry Jones, mainly dealing with the respect issue. I think Dak feels disrespected by Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. And who the hell can blame him? Jerry Jones opening negotiations, offering Dak the same deal that he turned down last year? That's a slap in the face. This is going to be an ugly ending in Dallas, I feel like. Dak Prescott, Dak's older brother, he has been critical of how Jerry Jones and the Cowboys have treated Dak Prescott the last year or so. He was vocal last summer throughout the failed contract negotiations, and he has started up again already this offseason. He took to Twitter and said, quote, "So the guy who was never supposed to make it is now the last one standing. Let that sink in," end quote. He is referencing the fact that all the quarterbacks that were drafted in 2016, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Paxton Lynch, Jacoby Brissett, just to name a few, they have all been either cut, traded, or benched. All of them except Dak Prescott. But don't speak so soon, big brother. Your brother Dak was one of the last quarterbacks to be drafted in the 2016 class. And he's going to be the last one to be added to that list that you're referring to when he is traded later this offseason. All right, that's all for today. Hit that like and subscribe button. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Leave me a comment in the section below. Should the Cowboys be looking to go into a rebuild? Or do you think that they should delay the inevitable and try one more season with Dak Prescott, either on the franchise tag or they should negotiate a long-term contract with him? Let me know your thoughts. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Best way to contact me is by email at BTLKC84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys next time.